Welcome back. I am your open source advocate, and we've been doing a series on FusionPBX. So in the first episode, we really installed FusionPBX. Now I want to explain that you can absolutely run FusionPBX on a Raspberry Pi, and they have instructions on how to do that. You can run it using Docker, which is also a really cool way to kind of run a PBX system. But definitely on a Raspberry Pi you can do this, and FreeSwitch is pretty great. Asterisk is amazing as well, as far as two different open source projects that allow you to run a PBX system. And a PBX overall, other than the web interface, uses very little resources. So I'm running this PBX, and I run my live system PBX on a $5 DigitalOcean droplet, which is one CPU, 2 gigabytes of RAM, I think, and maybe 25 gigabytes of storage. And I've never had an issue. They run just really well. So I want to be clear when I say that being able to do this is not expensive, and if you want to run on a Raspberry Pi, that's great. Now there's some things you'd have to do on your own network to make sure that the traffic can get through. There's ports that you would have to open. There's all kinds of things that you'd have to do. So you want to probably have a really good switch and router setup so that you can set up a good firewall and make sure that things are being blocked out of your own network. But you can absolutely do this on a Raspberry Pi as well. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my patrons over at Patreon. Seriously, you guys make this so worth it for me to do these videos every week. I really truly enjoy it, and I just can't say thank you enough. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job by subscribing to the channel. Plus, you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out. And finally, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, give it a like. Just click on that thumbs up, and that way YouTube knows that you like it, and they'll pass it along to other people that might enjoy my content as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's get started. So right now, what I've got set up is the actual system, and I've gone through and set up two different software phones. So one is called Blink, which is pretty nice. It's a very basic little software phone. So I'm going to start it up, and we'll see where it pops up here in a second. Here it is. And so it's going to register as Testy, which is my 102 extension. So this is Testy's phone. And then the other one I've got is called Twinnkle Softphone, which is pretty great too. Sometimes it gets a little bit weird, because it just freezes up or freaks out. But overall, I've not had a lot of issues with it. But this is now my Brian account, and this is extension 101. So what we want to do is we want to go through and set up an integrated voice recording system. Which is the voice menu prompt, not your voicemail, but your menu prompt. So when you call somebody and you get, "Hi, this is such and such company, please dial 1 for this, and dial 2 for support, and dial 3 for sales, and dial 4 for," on and on and on, right? So you can set that up in here as well, and there's a couple of different ways to kind of set things up there as far as how the voice sounds. So we're going to go through and set that up on this episode, and we'll use these guys to call each other. So first I want to show you that I can call each other from this. So I'm going to dial 102, which is Testy over here, and I'm going to hit enter and make sure that everything's popping up on this screen. Yeah, so it didn't. So here it is over here. So now it's popping up from Blink, and if I answer, so I'm going to get this weird echo feedback because both sides are receiving audio from my mic as well as being recorded. But yeah, so we've answered the call. And then you can hang up on either side. So in Blink, you click this little phone, and on Twinnkle, you just click bye, and there we go, we've hung up. And then I should be able to call from the Testy side. Now this one, you have to set them up as contacts, which is kind of weird. I haven't found a way to just dial a number. But we can just dial and click Brian. There we go. And it's kind of ringing here in the middle, but there it is. So we can hit answer. And again, we're going to get a little bit of a weird echo, but again, we can just hang up the call and we're done. So I've got both sides kind of working there, and we're going to jump back over into our web interface and start working on our integrated voice recording. Okay, we're back, and we are going to go through this. So you can see that since I refreshed this morning, I had some missed calls here, and that's where I was testing some stuff out. But in order to set up your integrated voice recording menus, you go to Applications, and then right down here in that menu, you'll see IVR Menus. So you're going to click there, and you'll see it's probably going to be empty. It should be empty for you. You're going to click on Add over here in the upper right. And then you're going to give this a name, because you can set up multiple voice recordings. So we're just going to call this IVR Main. Okay, and you can see I've done this before. And then we're going to give it an extension. Now you need to give this an extension so that when you get your actual phone number set up, you can create routes to this extension from the outside calling in, things like that. So I'm just going to call this 104 because I already used up 100, 101, 102. And you can see I've done that before. Now there could be parent menus where you have sub menus and things like that. So you say I'm going to dial 2 and that's going to take you to another menu that you created, right? So that's how you kind of create those trees of menus. You have parent menus that take you into child menus. But for now, this is the top level menu. Language, I'm going to pick the only language I have as an option, but if your system has other languages and you want that, go ahead and select that. Now this is where we get into the meat of it. So here, you'll see that we have say, which means I can click on that and then expand this box and type in it, and it will say kind of in the computer voice what we want that to sound like, and that's what we're going to use today. But you can also say, I want to use recordings. So if you click on recordings, then you can use recordings and upload those things, and then phrases. You can set up phrases that you could pick from. But today we're going to do say. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to use this little triangle button here to expand that, and I'm going to tell it. I'm going to click after the colon, and I'm going to say, thank you for calling Fix It Del Rio. Press 1 for Brian, press 2 for Testy. Now down here you have another option, which is your quick alert. So let's say that they go somewhere and it doesn't function and it sends them back to the main integrated voice recording system. Sometimes you don't want to have the whole beginning part that they had to listen to. Maybe you had a sales pitch, maybe you had some other kind of thing in there. You just want to give them a quick menu. So in this case we can generate that, and we're going to say the same thing. So press 1 for Brian, press 2 for Testy. And then down here you need to give the actual options. So we're going to say number 1, and then we're going to tell it where do we want it to go. Well, we want that to go to Brian. Now that's voicemails. So if you notice, this is voicemails. Up here I want to go to extensions 101. And then out here I can give it a description, and that's Brian. Now you can give these things like in order. So if you say anytime you press 1, it could go to 5 different extensions. You could say I want first it go to, you know, this one, then this one, then this one. So if you press 1, if you have 1 in here multiple times, it'll try different ones before it gives up. So it could be like your whole sales team that it hops through before it gives up. So there we go. Now I'm going to say press 2 for Testy. And that's going to be, it still says Brian extension, but it's 102. So we know we want extension 102 because that's Testy. And we'll just type it right here, Testy. So we know what it is. And we're pretty much done with that. Now there's a timeout. Like if they don't press something within so many seconds, so 3,000 would be 3 seconds. The system's going to hang up. So I'm just going to do a 5-second timeout there. Exit action. So we're going to scroll down and we can say when they exit, we want the system to hang up. Direct dial. So this means like, do you want to allow people to dial an extension directly? And in this case, no, we don't. So we're just going to kind of leave that as false. Ring back. So just leave it as the default ring. And then there's a few other things down here that you can set, but we want to make sure that it's got the right context, which is this tail.opensourceisawesome.com, because remember this is a multi-tenant system. You get multiple tenants. You want to make sure you give it the right tenant context for what this menu's for. And then finally you have enabled equals true, and if you want to type a description you can, but we've got everything we need. So we're going to hit save. Oh, did I hit back? I did. Okay, let's go through it again. I won't make you watch it. Stand by. All right, now we've got it, and we can hit the back button without losing all of our changes. So we've got our extension set up here, or our IVR voice extension set up. So we're going to go back into our Twinnkle app here. And I hope you guys will be able to hear this. I'm going to dial 104. Interesting. So it didn't pick up, or I didn't hear any audio. Maybe you guys can hear the audio. Let me try this one more time from over here. And I set this up yesterday, 104 right here.
Thank you for calling Fix It Del Rio. Press 1 for Brian. Press 2 for Testy.
So I pressed 1, and you can see that it's now ringing through to the Brian extension. There we go. Now we're connected. So you hear a few things because 1, it plays hold music for the person that's waiting for me to answer. And then this side's ringing while it's waiting for me to answer. So once I answer, then we get audio going back and forth. So it's very functional whenever you set these things up. And setting up that integrated voice recording menu is not hard. So that's pretty great, right? Now the voice is terrible. So I'm going to hang this up before we get too much feedback and kill you guys' ears. Okay, so we've hung up and we're kind of set and ready to go again. So you can create those menus just like that, like I said. So that's really all that there is to setting up integrated voice recordings inside of FusionPBX. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. Now again, if you want something better than just the robot voice, you'll want to create a recording, upload that thing, and then use that recording to guide people on what to push. It's very easy, and if you have somebody who speaks pretty nicely, it's easy enough to get them to make a recording of their voice. You can use all kinds of software that's free and open source like Audacity to do that, and then cut out the background noise. Get a good mic. You know, don't make them do it on a microphone connected to a PC unless it's a really great mic. You know, use something that's got a little bit of a good voice control quality, unlike what I'm using right now. But I had to use my headset today so that I could hear the sounds, and hopefully you guys can hear the sounds as well. But also so that I know that things are working correctly. So hopefully everything was working right, and the recording's going to come out good. But doing those upload recordings just makes it such a better experience for the person who's calling you. For one thing, it doesn't sound quite like they got the wrong number. So give that a shot, and that's integrated voice recording with FusionPBX. That was the IVR menu for FusionPBX. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.